Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, where we take up the articles from the Hindu and discuss them as per the demands of Civil Services Examination. The topics of the discussion are listed on your screen. Now the question of the day is visible on your screen. Do attempt the question and upload your answers on the ELEARN platform so that it can be evaluated from the expert evaluators from our side. Moving on to the first article of the day that has featured on page 6 of the Hindu, basically talks about the drug issue. Now the article says 42% of the inmates in Punjab prisons are accused or convicts in the narcotic case. This highlights the grave situation of drug abuse in the state. Now this article is important from the GS3 perspective. Not only it highlights the problem of drug abuse in Punjab, but it rather highlights the problem of drug abuse in India as a whole. The study was titled as Inside Punjab Prisons, and on the condition of prisons in state points out that 27% of the under trials and 14% of the convicts in jails are linked to the narcotic cases. Now the earlier report as submitted by AIMS on the magnitude of substance abuse in India has also highlighted the increasing incidences of substance abuse in India. The drug abuse has been spreading fast in India, with more than 70 million drug addicts in India as per the survey done by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Another grave trend that was highlighted by the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime in India was that around 13% of the people who were involved in the drug substance abuse in India were below the age of 20 years. And this calls for stepping up of the community intervention and the preventive mechanism, as the drug abuse is now targeting the adolescent population. During our discussion on the topic, we'll try to comprehensively cover the topic of drug abuse in India. For example, in discussion, we'll cover the reasons for drug abuse in India. We'll also cover the impact of drug abuse on India and on society as a whole. And at the last, we will discuss the measures that have been taken by the Indian government to counter the drug abuse in India, as there are various security challenges that also erupt from the drug abuse when they combine with the terrorism, or what we today know as narco-terrorism, which we'll also discuss. So the first topic to understand here is the reasons for drug abuse in India. The first primary reason for drug abuse in India is that of geographical location. Now, if you see the map of India, we can clearly see that India is located between the Golden Crescent or the Dead Crescent that comprises of Iran, Afghanistan and Pakistan, and also located between the Golden Triangle, or which is popularly known as Dead Triangle, which comprises of Myanmar, Laos, Thailand. Now, these two regions are one of the largest opium producing regions of the world, and India thus is prone to smuggling of opium and the drugs and other psychotropic substance from both the sides of the border, as the border, particularly from the northeastern side, is porous. And India acts as a huge market as well as provide transshipment hub to these opium producing regions of the world. Moving on to the second reason for drug abuse in India is the low income group. Now, on the studies which are conducted regarding the consumption of drugs in the world, it has been observed that people who are belonging to lower strata of the society or are from the weaker or vulnerable section of the society are particularly exposed to drug abuse. And for them, the consumption of drugs is from the relaxation point of view. The third major reason for increasing drug abuse in India and globally also is the societal pressure. Most of the youths today that are addicted towards the drug abuse is due to the fact that they started drug abuse under either peer pressure or even due to the isolation that they have suffered at the adolescent level at the hands of parents or friends. And this is the reason why there has been an increase in drug abuse among the youth, as we have seen initially that 13% of the total drug abusers in India are less than 20 years of age. Moving on to the next major reason of drug abuse in India is the health condition. Now, sometimes the drug abuse is also related to the health conditions that can be due to anxiety and depression, or even due to high levels of stress that is prevalent, And this causes the drug abuse to increase, as apart from the drug abuse like that of heroin or cocaine, there are also drug abuse related to pharmaceutical opioids, which contributes around 0.96% of the total drug abuse. And these drugs are difficult to track due to the legal sanction that has been provided to them. And this was highlighted even in the AIMS report. The next major reason for drug abuse in India is the poor law enforcement. Now, the corruption among the local enforcement agencies, for example, with that of police, and the loopholes or the porous nature of the borders that we have already seen under the geographical location, is exploited successfully by the drug cartels who are working around the world and also in India. Another major reason of poor law enforcement is the shortage of staff and equipment to tackle the illicit trafficking of drugs in India. The last reason that can be identified as a major cause of drug abuse in India is the current economic downturn that is happening. Now, in early 2020, the world went under the COVID-19 pandemic, and India also witnessed the same. The COVID pandemic, which is now being followed by economic recession around the world and which certainly will affect India also, will also contribute in the increase of trend of drug abuse, as this has been observed from the previous episodes of recession and downturns in the global economy, that with recession and downturns happening, the trend of drug abuse around the world has increased. So this brings us to the next part of our discussion, that then what is the impact of drug abuse on the society and on that of economy. The first major impact of drug abuse is the socio-economic impact. In simple terms, socio-economic impact of drug abuse means undesirable or negative changes in the social fabric and involves a negative connotation or negative impact on individual, society and government. Now, it has been observed that the families who have witnessed the cases of drug abuse have unstable family relationships, witnesses crime-prone life, and there is also a reduction in sense of belongingness to the family and society. Another major thing that is seen with the families that have witnessed drug abuse is the issue of domestic violence, as the drug abuse is many a times more in case of men than that of women, and it was seen under the studies that 75% of the individuals who suffer from the substance engage themselves in physical assault, mugging, and a weapon to attack their wives at home, thus ultimately impacting the social fabric of the society. The second major impact of drug abuse in India is that on education. The drug abusers or those involved in drug abuse are irregular in attending colleges or universities. Due to the use of drugs, they even also lose the concentration and the learning ability. And this at the last in turn impact their economic standing in the society, as they lack the required skill set to secure employment for themselves. The third major impact of drug abuse is on health. Now, drug abusers suffer from physical as well as mental illness. Their immunity conditions or the ability to fight disease are generally low, and the continuous use of any drug destroys their brain cells, and which may lead to other physical problems also. Further, we have also seen the prevalence of diseases like HIV, hepatitis, etc. is particularly high among the drug abusers. The fourth major impact of drug abuse is that on crime. Now, commonly it is referred that crime and drugs are the two sides of the same coin, as the consumption of drugs involve four types of crime that is being committed at the same point of time. That is, crime committed by drug abuser to obtain the drugs is also a crime. Crime committed by the drug peddler or supplier. Crime by drug business owner to protect their business. And financial crime that is involved like money laundering, robbery, etc. So four types of crime are being committed at the same point of time. And thus it is said that drug and crime are the two sides of the same coin. Now, another important thing to understand is that drug abuse has also an impact on environment, which may sound somewhat strange. Now, drug production in general impacts environment also. The environmental damage that is found in any country will depend on the specific role of the country that is involved in producing drugs. For example, the poppy cultivation generally takes place in the forest areas, and the method used by drug cultivators here is that of slash and burn. This results in clearing of large forest area. The second impact of drug on environment can be seen with the example of cannabis, which requires tremendous amount of water for its cultivation, thus negatively impacting the environment. Now, drug also has impact on governance, as governments world over or globally find it difficult to implement the rules and the laws relating to drug abusers. It is seen world over that in countries where there is increased drug abuse, there is also an increase in the level of corruption in that societies, and corruption even at the level of enforcement agencies that we have also discussed as a point or reason behind increasing drug abuse. So it forms a vicious cycle for the governance structure of any country, and finally erodes the public trust with the government of the day. The last impact of drug abuse that can be identified is on the internal security. Now, the internal security of any nation is disturbed as drug trade can be utilized by the extremist and the terrorist organization. And these terrorist and extremist organization utilizes the proceeds from these funds to fight their battles against the legitimate government setup, or what we today know as the issue of narco-terrorism. A prime example can be taken in the case of Taliban and its takeover of Afghanistan, where it was able to sustain the fight against the mighty United States of America owing to the control over the large and multi-billion-dollar drug trade of Afghanistan. This brings us to the last part of our discussion, that is, what is the Indian government setup to fight this drug abuse. Now, Indian government has established the Narcotics Control Bureau. It is the primary agency which is responsible for curbing trade of illicit drugs, and it also shares intelligence with other agencies like that of Department of Revenue Intelligence, Central Board of Excise and Customs, and security agencies like that of CRPF to ensure better coordination, and has been provided extensive power under the NDPS Act, that is the National Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act of 1985. Further, a narco coordination center was also established by Ministry of Home Affairs in the year of 2016 to fight drug menace in India and to ensure proper coordination among the different security agencies. Another step that has been taken by Indian government is the Seizure Information Management System, which was started in the year 2019. This was also given power under the NDPS Act for better coordination among all drug enforcement agencies and the knowledge about the quantities of drug being seized over the country. A national fund for control of drug abuse has also been launched. Project Sunrise was also initiated for the northeastern part of the country to tackle the rising cases of HIV prevalence, especially among the people who were involved in injecting drugs. Government has also launched the Nasha Mukt Bharat campaign, and apart from the national measures, Indian government is particularly engaging on international levels also, as India's NCV works with several international agencies like SAARC, BRICS, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, International Narcotics Control Board, etc. to combat the illicit trade of drugs. Apart from that, India is also signatory to UN Convention on Narcotic Drugs and Convention on the Psychotropic Substance. Thus, these measures highlight the multi-pronged approach that is adopted by India, where it is giving power to the security agencies. It is also launching social initiatives to stop the drug menace in India and raise awareness against the negative effects of drugs, and also at the same time collaborating with the international agencies to comprehensively stop drug trafficking around the world. With this, we have seen the reasons behind the drug abuse, Indian efforts to stop the drug abuse, and the impact that the drug abuse creates on India. Moving on to the next article of the day that has featured on page 1 of the Hindu basically talks about the Joint Parliamentary Committee. Now, citing public interest and the risk of savings of people, the parties have demanded a debate on high exposure of public financial institutions such as SBI and LIC, as in the recent Hindenburg case regarding the Adani Enterprises. Opposition is now seeking a joint parliamentary committee to investigate the matter in detail. Now, UPSC under the GS2 syllabus provides for Parliament and the state legislature and talks about structure, functioning, and the conduct of business. And thus, this area becomes important from the perspective of prelims as well as mains examination. During the discussion of this article, we'll try to understand what is a joint parliamentary committee. Secondly, we'll try to understand what are the functions that have been given to the Joint Parliamentary Committee and why they are formed. At the last, we'll also see whether there has been any incidence of formation of Joint Parliamentary Committee in the past or not. This brings us to the first question, that what is a Joint Parliamentary Committee? A Joint Parliamentary Committee is first of all set up to examine a particular bill that is presented before the Parliament, or even in the case to investigate the cases of financial irregularities in any governmental activity. It is to notice here that then JPC is not a permanent body, rather it is a ad hoc body, meaning thereby Joint Parliamentary Committee is set up for a given period of time only and is aimed at addressing specific issue for which it has been formed. This brings us to the second part of our discussion, that the formation of Joint Parliamentary Committee, or how the formation of Joint Parliamentary Committee takes place. JPC is formulated when a motion is initiated for the same purpose and is supported by both the houses or the presiding officers or the presiding chiefs. As Indian parliamentary structure has two houses, that is the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha respectively, and a motion for the establishment of the Joint Parliamentary Committee should be supported by both the houses or the chiefs or the presiding officers of the same. Another thing to understand here is the members of the Joint Parliamentary Committee are elected or nominated by the Parliament, and the number of members may also vary from committee to committee. So the members can be either elected or nominated, and this brings us to the question about the composition of the committee that is formulated. Now, as we have discussed, to set up a joint parliamentary committee, a motion is first have to be passed in one house and has to be supported by the other house. The committee's members are nominated or elected by the parliament, this we have already seen. And the numbers can vary from committee to committee, and there are twice as many Lok Sabha members as that of Rajya Sabha. Another thing to understand here is regarding the rules of the committee. Now, as the Joint Parliamentary Committee is not a permanent committee of the House and are formed on the ad hoc basis for the specific cases, all the critical decisions regarding the rules of the memberships and the conduct are decided by Parliament itself. And it has been seen that the Joint Parliamentary Committee are usually formatted under the tremendous public pressure on serious financial issues. And these were formed in the past regarding the same financial issues that may concern the financial security of the entire nation and can have a large spread effect on the share market, money market, and even the banking structure of the country, and which in turn will affect the entire population of the country. Another question that can come into mind is the powers and the functions that have been given to the Joint Parliamentary Committee. JPC is authorized to collect evidence in oral as well as written form or demand documents in connection with the matter it is investigating. The proceedings and the committee are confidential in its nature, and the government can decide to withhold a document if it is considered prejudicial to the interest of the state. Further, the committee has the power to invite parties for the inquiry and even can summon the people to appear before it. And the committee usually gets disbanded or is diluted after it submits its report on the parliament or submit the report for the specific purpose for which it was formulated. So this brings us to the last part of our discussion, that whether in the past there have been any incidences of formation of joint parliamentary committee or not. Now, even in the past, the joint parliamentary committee have been formulated from time to time. The first joint parliamentary committee was formulated in 1987 for the infamous Bofors contract. The second joint committee was formulated after irregularities in the stock market in 1992, that is popularly known as the Harshad Mehta case, as the stock market manipulation have endangered the position of money market and the stock market in India. The third joint parliamentary committee was formulated in 2001, and this was again related to the stock market, where it was the Ketan Parekh share market scam. Again, a joint parliamentary committee was formulated in the year of 2003 on the safety guidelines with related to the issues of pesticides in soft drinks. And the fifth joint parliamentary committee was formulated during the UPA 2 tenure in 2011 with related to the 2G spectrum case. In 2013 also, joint parliamentary committee was formulated to investigate the infamous VVIP chopper scam. So in the past, we have also seen evidences of the formation of joint parliamentary committee whenever the financial security of the state has been threatened or matter of urgent and important public importance has been brought in. With this, we have seen the nature of joint parliamentary committee, how it is formed, the composition, the powers and the functions that have been provided with the joint parliamentary committee, and the present demand for the same. Now moving on to the next article of the day that has featured on page 9 of the Hindu, basically talks about the Chat GPT. Now Chat GPT is basically an AI enabled chat box. AI here meaning thereby is artificial intelligence. Now ChatGPT has gained prominence in the recent time due to its exceptional capabilities, wherein recently it has passed the examinations of prestigious law boards and medical boards of United States. Now this section is important as under the GS3 syllabus, UPSC has provided us with the science and technology section, which talks about developments and applications in the field of science and technology and their effect in everyday life. Through this article, we'll try to understand the meaning of AI and the impact of AI on the everyday life. Now, artificial intelligence or AI basically is a field of computer science that focuses on the creation of intelligent machines that can perform the tasks which will typically require human intelligence. Basically, in simpler words, the goal of artificial intelligence is to build such systems which can perform the tasks that are normally done by humans, such as learning, reasoning, problem solving, etc., with minimum human intervention. Now, we'll try to understand what are the benefits of using technologies like AI and what are the potential demerits of the same. The first major benefit of using artificial intelligence is the increased efficiency and productivity. Now, AI system can automate tasks and will free up workers for more complex and creative tasks. The second major benefit of using AI is that it will improve the accuracy. Now, AI can perform tasks with a higher degree of accuracy than that of humans. And this will help in reducing the angle of human error. Further, the third major advantage is that AI will enable faster decision making, as it can analyze large amount of data at once and can make decisions while collating and analyzing this data much faster than that of humans. This improves the reaction times, especially in the field of healthcare, finance, etc. The proponents of AI highlight that using AI will significantly enhance the cost savings. It will reduce the need of human labor and will thus also lower the operating cost and will improve the profitability for the company. The next benefit of AI is that it will increase personalization. Now, AI system can provide personalized experiences and customizations which it has learned by analyzing the data of individual users. Further, the AI will help in predictive maintenance. AI can be used to predict when equipment is likely to fail, that is to determine the life cycle of any equipment, follow up maintenance, and will also help in longevity of the product. It will certainly improve the customer services as the AI powered chatbots can provide quick and accurate answers to customer queries. And last, AI will also open the door for new opportunities. As AI is itself learning, it has the potential to itself create new products, offer new services, and look towards establishments of new industries that were previously absent. However, everything is not in favor of AI. Apart from the benefits and the merits that we have seen and discussed for AI, there are various demerits regarding the AI. The first demerit that is highlighted world over is that use of AI will cause significant job loss, as automation and the use of artificial intelligence will cause job loss for workers, particularly in the industries where the work can easily be automated. Further, the second demerit highlighted here is that AI can perpetuate bias and discrimination. AI system can perpetuate and amplify the existing biases because AI is itself working on the data that is already available, and the available data may be showcasing some kind of biasness, and AI will learn upon this data, analyze the data, and can thus promote biasness and discrimination on another level. The third concern highlighted with the use of AI is related to the security and privacy concerns. Now, AI systems are basically vulnerable to hacking and other security threats, and this can lead to compromise of personal and sensitive information. The fourth demerit of using AI is the high cost of implementation, as implementation of AI is usually expensive, and this technology will remain elusive for small corporations and organizations, and thus will remain discriminatory in its approach. Further, the AI also lacks the human touch. AI lacks the human touch in the forms of empathy and presence of EI, that is emotional intelligence, and which will ultimately result in lack of personal connection, and particularly in sensitive areas like that of healthcare and other customer service based industries. Over dependence on technology is also a demerit of AI, as it will lead to lack of critical thinking and decreased ability to solve any problem. Further, there are various other ethical concerns that are related with the AI. AI system can be used for unethical purposes such as that of mass surveillance, and thus it raises ethical concerns regarding the end use of AI. And at the very last, AI as of today have limited capabilities. AI systems are limited by the data and also by the algorithm they have been trained on, and thus may not be able to handle complex tasks or situations that require human judgment. Thus, in conclusion, we can understand that artificial intelligence is a rapidly advancing field and has the potential to revolutionize the way we work and live. However, as with the new technology, it is important to also consider the ethical and the social implications of the AI, and particularly the economic impact with regard with the job displacement or replacement, and thus there is a need to strike a balance between harnessing the benefits of artificial intelligence and mitigating the risk that AI possesses at the same point of time. With this, we have seen all the demerits of the AI. We have also discussed the benefits of using AI at the same point of time. Moving on to the next article of the day that has featured on the page 1 of the Hindu, basically talks about the Representation of People Act. Now, the Supreme Court has set apart that there is no bar on contesting 2 seats in one poll. The Supreme Court has refused to set aside the provisions, that is the Representation of People Act 1951, where it particularly talked about section 33, that allows candidate to contest polls from two constituencies simultaneously. Now this topic is important from the UPSC examination, as UPSC in the GS2 syllabus has specifically mentioned salient features of the Representation of People Act as a topic, and in the previous years under the prelims examination in 2021 has asked the question related to the same. However, it is interesting to note here that UPSC has dropped this question in the year 2021. The answer according to us for which was B. Now this topic is important because the petition has urged the court to declare section 33 of RPA as invalid and ultra-vires to the constitution. The basis for the petition was that the Chief Election Commissioner has also urged the Prime Minister in 2004 to amend this section, and the petitioner had argued that this is violative of Article 19 and 21 of the Indian Constitution. The 255th report of the Law Commission on the electoral reform was also highlighted during the petition, which had argued that this section needs to be amended so that a person does not contest elections from more than one seat. During our discussion, we will try to understand what basically the electoral law says and what Supreme Court in its judgment said while refusing to set aside the provision under the RPA. Now let us discuss what does the electoral law say. Now the Representation of People Act 1951 provides for contrasting provisions regarding the contesting from one or more constituency. The section 33 provides for candidate to contest two parliamentary or assembly seats, but on the other hand, section 70 of RPA states that candidate can retain only one seat and has to resign from the other seat if he or she wins both the seats. Thus, despite contesting from two constituencies, the candidate can retain only one seat and cannot remain elected from the two constituencies. And this has been provided under section 70 of the Representation of People Act, which states that if a person is elected from more than one seat in the either House of Parliament or in case of state legislature, then in a prescribed time limit, he has to resign from one seat in his writing, which is addressed to Speaker or the Chairman, or to any other authority that may be prescribed, and the remaining seat shall remain vacant. Another interesting thing to understand here is that till 1996, a candidate was even allowed to contest from multiple constituencies, wherein in 1996 the Representation of People Act was amended and the cap for two seats were put in. Now if a candidate who has contested from two parliamentary constituencies and is elected from both, then he has to resign one seat within the 14 days. And failing to do such will result in both the seats from which he has been elected will get vacant. This brings us to the question that what has Supreme Court observed during its judgment. The court held that it is a policy matter and an issue concerning political democracy and has left it on the Parliament to take a call on the matter. The court also held that the contesting of election from two seats was not constitutionally immoral in a political democracy. But at the same time, the court also emphasized the need to relook at the provisions, as contesting an election from multiple seats will mean a by-election and thereby will further drain the public exchequer, and has left it on the domains of the legislature or the Parliament to determine the same. So thus, we have seen what was the basis for the petition regarding the same. We have also seen the provisions as enshrined under section 33 and section 70 of the Representation of People Act, and we have also understood the Supreme Court judgment that has been made in regard with this matter.